Yes. I can leave at 6:30 because I'm doing 2 hours with friends here.
You did. You're the best.
How old are you?
I'm 49.
Okay. No, I just wanted to get a sense of when he was in New York. I grew up. I had friends who went to the Garden City.
Garden City? Yeah.
Waldorf School.
I went to the Manhattan.
No,
Where are you from?
I'm from Brooklyn.
Oh, what's part?
Do you know where Woody Allen grew up? Midwood.
Midwood, yeah.
Yeah, that's where I grew up.
It's also like I'm only here until the 31st. So probably won't go to the cafe on Tuesday because like I'm doing this today all day and then tomorrow and morning. I was like, I told Forrest about that. He was like, today he was like, yeah, go and do that. You know, like whatever. You know, it's only a day. And bam.
Oh.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Mark. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you, everybody. Couldn't get any better. Look, it has a red candle for the turning inside out.
Did you notice we sang with the four Gertian dynamics? Enhancement, polarity.
I felt it. Yeah.
Cool.
Anybody want a piece of cake?
Well, maybe after.
Okay, after, yeah.
Oh, Mom.
Yeah, we'll do it. Yeah, you guys gotta earn your keep. You're the cake. We'll wait for that.
Birthday party.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I feel so bad. I don't want to miss anything, but on the other hand, yeah. I grew up on 76 and Broadway, and we used to play Walden in sports, and I had a couple friends who went to Walden before it closed.
Yeah.
All the progressive schools closed.
Okay.
Here we go.
Now, see if we can move.
Yeah, and Virgin Walden, yeah, they all closed, unfortunately. It's the end of the progressive.
Where'd you come from?
Really, they were bad? I never thought of Yeah, grab a seat anywhere. You'll have to go with the flow. Okay. We might start a new text, so actually you're in luck. I had pressed the button before. Is it on now?
Yeah.
Room?
What?
It's on?
Yeah, it's on, but the zoom is like way
Oh,
in.
because I did that over there for the birthday. I'm going to show my wife.
How do you zoom out?
Oh, here.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Okie dokie. Thank you everybody for my birthday surprise. Usually I go to the Kala Mandarin for my birthday.
What's that?
Oh, it's a nice hotel in Honolulu where you eat outside with the palm trees and has seafood buffet. But actually I did that before I came.
Oh, good. When is your actual birthday?
Yesterday,
Oh, it was
July
yesterday.
21st. So I'm gonna have the same birthday as Robin Williams and Hemingway.
Oh, how
And Les
wonderful.
Aspin.
Ah,
Yeah, I love that Barnes & Noble's birthday book. I don't know if any of you own it, but it's just pretty fun. Any questions about this? We're okay? So the main thought form. So you don't have to do this with every Steiner text, go to sentence level, but we did that so that these, like I said, this preface and the next text we're going to go through have all the forms. So there's a 1 form, a 2 form, a 3 form, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Number of sentences. So if there's 1 sentence, it goes 1 level. 2 sentences, 2. 5, you have polarity. So starting with 5 is where you have polar forms. If you're really curious, 12 is a little bit different, but I'll give you a list at the end of the day, or you can always email me. I put it on my website, so quick
I buy your
reference.
book, is it all in there?
Yeah, it's all in
I
there.
like everything together.
All right, that's one package.
Yeah,
The other thing is, if you are German,
yeah.
you should get Lounce's main book, Das Erwecken des Herzdenkens, and you should get his free online translation, not translations, his free online editions of Steiner's basic books, and that's heartthink.de. But I can write them at the
Okay,
end.
later on. Give me
Yeah.
that.
But you should know those are available. He has a PDF.
There you are.
Yeah, you can study more.
Yeah, you can. Oh, I should have given you the new text. Oh, I could have flipped this around, right? Oops.
Holy shit.
Okay. So, we're gonna study a text quickly, relatively quickly, and I'd like to do it differently. I hope everybody has their colored pencils, blue, green, red, yellow, ready.
Yeah.
And what we're gonna do is we're gonna pretend we actually can predict what Steiner will say. And this is hopefully will be a successful exercise. Pass these about.
Nancy, just come sit up over here. I'm okay back there. You sure? Yeah.
We will need paper though, if you have paper.
Yeah, we have plenty. This is the second appendix. This used to be the first chapter of the book. And then he canceled it, cut off the first paragraph, and then put 2 new paragraphs. Or no, maybe he cut off the first 2 paragraphs and put 1 new paragraph. Any case, it used to have 14 paragraphs, now it has 13. Does anybody need a copy?
I do. We can share one.
I have, just
It's okay, we can share.
Have your own?
I prefer that you have your own copy.
You have two? Oh,
My
you
book
have
has
this
a
one,
copy
yes.
too.
Wow. Ooh, I didn't
Mess it
think
all
of
up.
us doing that. Okay.
Hold on, let me just get my head together. Let me ask you a question. What question did the preface answer that we did before? The 1918 preface. What question did it answer? If you had to have a question that Steiner answered.
Why is he putting it out in the first place? That's why he's.
Okay, why is he putting out,
Yeah.
right? Does that make sense to everybody? Is that acceptable? Why did I publish this book? Right? Why did I make this book? That's the question he answered. And he's going to do that, hopefully, again, in another context. If you have 13 paragraphs, what is the midpoint? What?
7.
7.
Bless you.
Bless you. So, what should we
missing
expect
5.
in the midpoint
You're
if we
missing
know ahead of
5.
time? So did I skip again?
5.
Oh, 5.
I'm a confused person. I really like 5.
What are you hiding?
Yeah, all sorts of things. I'll tell you the truth. So what should you expect from paragraph 7?
An inversion.
So maybe an inversion, right? Of all things. And then what are the midpoint? What are the other midpoints between 7 and 1 and 7 and 13?
4.
Yeah, so 4 and 10. So if it's a symmetrical organic style, you should expect, almost be able to feel it in, like you'd know, oh yeah, I know where this jazz musician's going. He's gonna go here, I bet you, right? And maybe Steiner will go there, maybe he won't. So the next thing, when we read this, I ask you to do something a little bit different. Everybody go to the first paragraph, and I put to the left of the sentence a question, and I didn't do this in every sentence. Could you please lightly shade the first sentence blue. Just underline it blue. Entire sentence. The entire sentence. Yeah, underline the first entire sentence.
In a color?
Yeah, in blue. Because it's a what? Yes.
One thing about this work
Yeah.
is I have become obsessed with acquiring the 4 colors in all kinds of formats.
Yeah. There's even a clicky pen that had the 4 colors. That was one of my favorites. Yeah, but I didn't like the pen. I wish it came in like a chalky pencil. Okay, someone who was, Frank, could you read the first sentence?
This is a blue.
Thank you. I love that voice.
What in what follow, or I don't know.
Okay, so it's a what sentence, right? It's our blue sentence, so it should have a static quality. Please, Frank.
What in what follows will be reproduced in all its essentials, that which stood as a kind of preface in the first edition of this book.
Everybody paint the next sentence green, please. Or at least circle it green, but underline it. And could you not tap on the table?
Well, if I had some cake.
Frank?
Okay.
Okay, how do you speak a green sentence, or how should you read it?
Rhythmically.
Okay, try that, a little lighter, staccato.
Staccato.
Yeah, try that, see if it works. If it doesn't work, we'll fix it.
How? I placed it here as an appendix, since it reflects the type of thinking in which I wrote it 25 years ago, and not because it adds to the content of the book.
Did that work? Okay. In sentence 3 should be what color? Red. Now, of course, you shouldn't do this by yourself because you never know if Steiner starts a paragraph on the ego level, or he has something he calls wings. So wings would be like, you guys remember the 9 form? It looks like that. Well, an 11 form has an extra paragraph in the front and the back.
We can't see that blue.
Sorry. So you can see my 9 form, right? This little, yeah, arc. So if it's 11 form, it's a 9 form plus what we call wings. Now when Steiner puts wings, like on the chapter 2 of the Philosophy of Freedom, I guess I could show you real quick. The wings means that that chapter is very important. So he's adding a little emphasis. The Bible chapters have wings. So here's one of my wings chapters. This is how I drew chapter 2. So you see the wings on the side. They're not really part of the thought form. My little wings, so it has 15 paragraphs, and the little wings are on the bottom. They're not part of the thought form. And the center red paragraphs are the world philosophical views. And the other one's about Goethe, and this is about science. So those little wings, because Steiner thought chapter 2 was really important. But I can get into that again. Just so you know, don't just do this with a text unless you have some familiarity. What is the what in sentence 1?
The essentials.
Okay, the essentials. What's another what in sentence 1?
The preface.
The preface. Which one is more whatty?
The preface.
Right, because it's a physical object, but the essentials also works, right? So we have number 1, 3. We have the preface. What is the how in sentence 2?
I don't understand what the 3 is.
Paragraph 1, 3 sentences. What, how, why? Yeah, don't worry, these questions are good because you got to keep asking. This is a new way of reading. So in the new edition, if I send you the PDF of my Philosophy of Freedom, that's how it's going to look. It's going to have the text, and it's all going to be numbered, or it is numbered now. And so you've got to refer to those kind of fractions. So what's the how?
Reflect?
Yeah, or what's the first clause?
As an appendix?
placed it here?
I placed it here.
That was my first.
Number one, I reflected. What else did he do? How many action verbs are in sentence 2?
Thinking, wrote,
Wrote, reflect, place, anything else? Adds, right?
Adds,
So
yeah.
isn't that an unusual number of action verbs? How many action verbs are in the first sentence?
Will, Well, that's
Okay,
not-
but is it passive or active?
passive.
Yeah. Why does he put passive in sentence 1 and a lot of active verbs in sentence 2? You don't want to tell me.
Because, well, if it's going to be alive, it has to have those elements.
So now's your first trick. Your first sentence should have a passive verb. Your second sentence could have an active verb. And what type of verb would be in a why sentence? Possibly. So check your grammar. I'm really good at grammar. I had to teach grammar. I know what a nominative absolute is. Sorry, jot that. What verb? What?
Future?
It's future, however, it's a want, right? So it's a conditional as well. Also, it's a kind of emotional verb. So the preface is repeated. He said it as a kind of appendix, right? And why did he set it as an appendix? What does it say in sentence 3? Why did he include it?
He didn't want to leave it out.
He didn't want to leave it out because people would think he's hiding something, right? Because again and again, the opinion surfaces that, right?
to
Oh, right.
suppress.
Okay.
Right.
So let's sentence 1. Frank, could you read all 3 in the colors?
Okay. In what? Should I say what also?
If you want to, yeah.
What? In what follows will be reproduced in all its essentials that which stood as a kind of preface in the first edition of this book. How? I placed it here as an appendix, since it reflects the type of thinking in which I wrote it 25 years ago, and not because it adds to the content of the book. Why? I did not want to leave it out completely for the simple reason that time and again the opinion surfaces that I have something to suppress of my earlier writings because of my later spiritual writings.
Which sentence has the more astral verbs?
Third.
Yeah, suppression, right? All these kind of conflict. So you have preface, what? How, appendix, thinking style. The same thinking style comes out now. And then why? Because he's afraid of criticism, right? So you have what, how, why. So you have your 3 colors. If you just practice those 3 sentences over and over again out loud, like Frank just did, that will already stimulate your heart chakra.
Really?
That's right. Anybody read the Calendar of the Soul? How long are the verses? Right, that's a little sugar dose of organic thinking if you have the proper translation and you read it with a proper attitude. And then you have this wonderful thing of all these verses that are interconnected on that.
What's the common translation? I've been stuck with Daisy Walden for 25
Yeah, I can, on my website, it's a free O'Neill translation. It's all yours.
Oh, Neil.
So did you do that, the same thing with the, Mr. Manfas? I mean, the same principle, what you're doing?
Absolutely.
I
So
mean,
you would read
yeah.
the Calendar of the Soul according to those levels and feelings, and then backwards and forwards maybe.
Right, that came to me one time. I thought, what happened if I read this backwards, you know?
Yeah.
So interesting.
I have a friend, Colin Brown, he's related to this thinking, but he just used short verses of Steiner because he wasn't really interested in doing the philosophy of freedom. And he was already a clairvoyant. He could see whatever, everything. And he said when he was just doing a Steiner verse this way for 3 years, he could not believe the progress he made in his own spiritual life. Now, as someone who's already pretty advanced, you know, he doesn't need to do this, but he did it, and it's amazing. And it's the heartfelt aspect that a lot of times a clairvoyant doesn't have, right? Because they have temptations too, right? Okay, paragraph 2. Should I pick on someone else, Frank?
Sure.
Who should I pick on? Yeah, I can pick on.
Daryl.
What? Our
age can only want to draw truth out of the depths of man's being.
So what's the physical aspect, just offhand? What is the what in sentence, first sentence?
Man's being.
Okay, man's being is the physical aspect, right? And what's the subject of the sentence?
Our age.
Our age and truth, right? But our age is drawing truth, but yeah. Go ahead.
How? Of Schiller's well-known two paths. Truth seek we both, you in outer life, I within, in the heart, and each will find it for sure. Is the eye healthy so it meets the Creator outside? Is the heart healthy, then it reflects inwardly the world.
How many paths are there?
Wait, there's more.
Yeah, okay, go ahead. Sorry.
The present age will benefit more from the second.
So we have our age, the present age, and how many paths are there?
2.
Does that smell like something familiar?
Two views.
2 views, 2 paths. What are the paths? 2 questions, right? So one's an outer path, the heart path, and one's the inner path, or the head path and the heart path, right? Says Schiller. And which one is appropriate for our times? The inner, right? The heart path. Sentence 3 should have what quality, Daryl?
I have a disagreement. Okay, as science, I'm sorry, we're not mystics, we're scientists, so it's the outer path, where our endeavor, science said the reason why we are materialists is because we don't understand the nature of matter. And as scientists, that's our task, whatever tiny corner that we grasp onto of understanding matter, whether it's the matter of the hair or the brains, that's our task. That's what I believe.
Well, you have a choice. You have the head or the heart. Schiller doesn't say they're bad. It's whatever one works for you, right?
And aren't these Steiner's words?
Those are Schiller's words.
Schiller's well-known two paths, and then it
Quote.
goes on, the present age.
Yeah, those are the
benefit
present
more
age.
than the second.
Right, that's Steiner's words. The present age, yeah. So it's the Schiller quote. So Steiner took that little poem and made it part of the sentence. So this is also your first lesson.
Schiller's addressed to her.
I think so.
Schiller's addressed to her.
But I'm not positive.
And Steiner says the second way is more important than the first.
Right, is more appropriate, right?
More
Okay. Sentence 3.
benefit.
Why? A truth that comes to us from the outside always carries the stamp of uncertainty.
So how is that a wise sentence? Yeah.
Affects our feelings, I mean, our view of life.
View of life. So which word looks awfully familiar?
Uncertainty.
Yeah, where did you see uncertainty before?
This morning on the thing.
Yeah, in the preface, right?
Yeah.
So he even recycles the same words, right? Isn't that cute? I won't fight with you. Okay, so you have uncertainty is the why, and now comes a who sentence. Daryl.
Who? Only what appears as truth to each and every one of us in his own inner being is what we want to believe.
So where is truth now?
And you're in her
The
being.
individual.
In our own
Yeah,
being.
truth. So you have 4 sentences. Which sentence is the most individual sentence? The who sentence, right?
4.
So it's not an accent. It's the yellow sentence, right? Is everybody getting a feel for that? How is the second sentence etheric? How did Steiner create a lighter mood in the second sentence? Because Jones said the first sentence, you're scooping truth out of the human being. The human being kind of weighs the sentence down, right? You're scooping it out, or whatever the verb he uses. Schöpfen. The second sentence, how is that a little bit lighter? How is that a how sentence?
Because he's creating polarity there.
He's creating polarity. Polarity's movement, not a theoretical answer, right? That's one another way. The poem. Poems are usually very light, etheric, rhyming, right? So it's a literary technique. Then you have the uncertainty, which I left out, and truth. who would like to read paragraph 3? So it's paragraph 3.3. What should be said in paragraph 3? So here you have the preface, here you have the heart path, and what should come in paragraph 3? What color is paragraph 3? Theoretically. Red. Who wants to read? Joan, thank you for raising your hand.
Okay. What? Only truth can bring us certainty in the development of our individual powers.
Right? Bring us certainty in our individual powers. So, truth brings certainty, excuse my spelling. Yeah. Next.
How? Whoever is tormented by doubt, his powers are lamed.
Does that sound very green?
Analysis paralysis.
Right.
Yeah.
Now, is the greenness in the words or is the greenness in the tempo? You know what I mean?
I'm gonna guess tempo.
Right? It's tempo because it's so astral, right? Oh, I'm tormented and lamed. Or, if you step back from it, it's already a red paragraph. So the whole thing has a more feeling taint to it. And if you, a lot of times with Steiner, if you get rid of the negatives and you express it positively, if you are able to be active if you're not tormented. Right? So you could make it a positive statement. Those who are active have a happy, healthy life, something like that, as opposed to those who are lamed who are tormented by doubt. So anyway, it's just the reverse of the sentence that came before it. Sentence 3 is a why sentence.
Why? In a world that is puzzling to us, we can find no goal for our creativity.
Okay, we can find no goal. So state that positively. Truth brings us certainty, power, and what else?
Creativity.
And creativity, in simple English. Excellent. So here you have the what, the preface, the appendix, the how to approach it, right, the heart path. And here you have the goal, or the why. Why do it? Because truth gives you certainty, creativity, and power, right? What should he say in paragraph 4?
Who?
Something with the who. What's his first sentence? Anyone want to read the first sentence?
We no longer want merely to believe, we want to know.
So he starts with, we no longer want to believe, we want to know, right? Or merely. So it's we. So there you have your kind of eye level there. It's what we want, right?
Yeah, the whole paragraph is yellow.
The whole paragraph is yellow for it. It starts with we. Sentence number 2 is what color?
Green.
Green. So color that green. Someone want to read that?
Belief requires the accepting of truth, which we cannot fully grasp.
Belief requires the accepting of truth we cannot fully grasp. Okay. So that's kind of a negative one. Doesn't actually say something that we can condense so well. Sentence 3. Whose turn?
What is paragraph?
However, what we do not fully grasp
I don't know.
undermines our individuality, which wants to experience everything with its deepest inner being.
Right, so now we have our, what kind of knowledge do we want?
Absolute certainty.
Yeah. Deep inner being. And the last sentence? Anyone?
Only that knowing satisfies us that subjects itself to no external norms, but springs instead out of the inner life of the personality.
Yeah, so everything you need to know, remember he said there's no theoretical answer? That the knowledge springs out of your personality. Why? Because it's coming out of your consciousness, so you have an intuitive faculty, right? He says it. I didn't say it. He said it, right?
Is it blue?
That's yellow.
That's yellow.
Yeah.
So this is getting into the morality here, where we don't get our morality from someone telling us this is the way you should be.
Right, you're supposed to be morally creative, but then maybe that happens like one of every 10,000 years, right? But yes.
But is that one of the things about the philosophy of freedom is it's developed to where you become moral, not from some guy standing at the pulpit telling you what to do. It's your morality comes.
So the basic rule is you don't harm anyone, and you leave room for other people to express themselves, but you create your own moral system as long as it follows the golden rule. That's what he basically says. Yeah, you create your own morality, but it still has to follow the golden rule. Do no harm. So yeah, that's the gist of the book. However, later he says, he doesn't actually say you're free. He says you get to serve God in chapter 15. Right? He said it one time in a lecture. He says freedom is acting in the necessity of the times.
Yeah.
So you're not a slave, you're a servant.
I love that.
Yeah, people think it's about freedom. Sure it is on a certain level of creativity and freedom in more life. Like if you like oysters or something like that, or you want to be an architect, you can build what you want. However, ultimately, you're following God's will. And that's not fun. If anyone thinks it's fun, you can read the Bible. Yes?
Well, I can understand that because when I was giving birth to my last child, following natural childbirth, and then there comes that moment when, and then that child is going to come out. You have no freedom about it.
Right.
And it became really clear to me, my freedom is I can fight it or let it. And that's when the pain goes away. But I had no choice about that watermelon was going to come out.
Yeah.
I didn't have any choice about that. But how I related to it, whether I went with it or resisted, made all the difference. So
I think that's what the book basically says. Like, if you have a destiny, right, and you have to fulfill it, that's not always fun.
But I understand that what is called moral, if you would change your thinking to the real thinking you want to do, you cannot do different than the right thing, because you connect with that, you become it. There is actually no choice, and there is choice that you, in free will, because you have freed your will from all the negative stuff, long to do to be with the light, so to speak. No?
Right.
This is the fundamental Socratic question. If a person knows the difference between right and wrong, will he do wrong? And this is, if we know all the consequences of our actions, if we can see them, if we have that consciousness, most of us we have a limited point of view, and it's very.
Right.
And what this seems to be about is expanding, like all of Steiner's works are about expanding our point of view.
And it's also, it's not freedom from, it's
Right.
freedom to.
Right. Yeah.
But we have to make mistakes because we're a finite beings. We are not, we are theoretically free. We can engage in a free activity of finding an intuition.
Right.
That's an activity. That's why the controversy over whether it should be philosophy of freedom or philosophy of spiritual activity. Today I'm more prone to say because it is an activity. It's not something that's, as he says, it's not something that's done once and for all. We're continually trying to increase our knowledge or our intuitions of the world. fellow beings.
Sounds good. 5? So what color is 5, theoretically?
How many in all?
There's 13, and 7 is the midpoint.
Just start going back down.
It's probably gonna go back down, right? So we'll play that.
So we're at red.
So it's gonna be red, declining red,
Oh, the other way.
descending, yeah. So it's a
So
Y.
4 is yellow?
The Y
Oh, 4 is
going
green?
down is usually a
Correct.
moral
Who?
paragraph.
Oh, that's green.
No, who?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Descending red
This
is
is
a
within,
moral
this is
paragraph.
the whole, as a whole.
Oh, I
It's
see.
yellow.
Someone wanna read?
We also
Please,
do
yeah.
not want to a form of knowing which is fixed for all eternity in rigid academic rules and is kept in compendia valid for all time.
Okay, so we don't want academic knowledge fixed for all time and kept in compendia. So what's the physical aspect there?
What's the what?
Physical, what is the what? in that
Compendia.
sentence? Right, so fixed compendia, fixed knowledge, right? Sentence 2 should be a how, right? So paint that one green.
Go
Good.
We hold that each of us is justified in starting from first-hand experiences, from immediate life conditions, and from there climbing to a knowledge of the whole universe.
What's the gist of that sentence? What's the how there?
First-hand experience.
Okay, first-hand experience to what?
To the whole universe. To knowing the whole universe.
Right? So first-hand to the whole universe. And now should come the why.
We strive for certainty in knowing, but each in his own unique way.
Each in his own unique way. And there you basically have your ego level too, right?
The last one,
The last
Yeah,
one
it's
is
red.
red and yellow.
both.
Well, you can make it red for now. I just wanted to point out that you see that sentence has 2 aspects to it. You can, everybody seems to be feeling, so why hide it, right? 6, another reader? Go ahead,
Our
please.
scientific,
What's that?
So we're moving into how now, right?
Yes,
Which
6
color?
is green. The first sentence is a what? So paint that blue. Go ahead, I'm sorry, Roman.
sure. Our scientific theories should also no longer take the position that our acceptance of them was a matter of absolute coercion.
Okay, right, so our scientific theory shouldn't be a matter of coercion. That's the what. What's the how?
None of us would give a title to an academic work such as Fichte once did, a crystal clear report to the public at large on the actual nature of modern philosophy.
Right, so Fichte gave a title, right, about the actual nature. So he's telling you the truth, Fichte, right? You have no choice. The third sentence should be a why.
An attempt to compel readers to understand.
Okay, so here in 6 we have Fichte's teaching. He's a philosopher of compulsion. Now what happens in sentence 4? You have what, how, why, 1, 2, 3, and 4 is what kind of question? A why, because there are 6 sentences, right? So it'll be 2 times 3. So the first half is Fichte. What should the second, 4 through 6 say?
Our reaction.
Right, it's going to be a reaction to Fichte, or it could be even a continuation. But let's check it out. What's sentence 4?
Today, nobody should be compelled to understand.
Nobody should be compelled. That's your turning inside out. It went what Fichte's truth to what we think. Nobody should be compelled. That's your inversion.
And that's yellow?
That's red because it's 6.
So you don't go into yellow.
No, no, keep it. But
that's
in your
not-
heart, you could go yellow.
But that's numbered 4. How is it? Why is it
Right.
six?
So, Joan, like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So the form will tell you a lot. If you know how many sentences and you know 3 and 4 is the midpoint, you know that 99% of the time Steiner will move from one topic to the next and turn it inside out.
Is that why he spent so much, he focused so much on Fichte throughout his life, I presume, but in his early development?
Well, Fichte is a freedom philosopher, to be fair to him. Sentence 4 was what? We don't want compulsion? What's the word?
To understand, we don't want to, should be compelled to understand.
Okay, so no compelling. Keep going.
We are not asking for acceptance or agreement from anyone who is not driven by a specific need to form his own personal worldview.
Okay, right, so you need to have your own individual need if you want to talk to Steiner. And last sentence?
Nowadays, we also do not want to cram knowledge into the unripe human being, the child. Instead, we try to develop his faculties so that he will not have to be compelled to understand, but will want to understand.
So you have Fichte education versus Steiner education, right? You see the basis of the Waldorf is already in this philosophy, right? Of freedom. And that one little sentence, healthy people don't need to be compelled to do anything. They want to do it. If you love them, they want to learn.
There's no 7.
What?
There's no 7 sentence.
Oh, no. Oh, paragraph 7. Oh, I'm sorry.
Got it.
Yeah.
So what color is 4?
4 is red,
Oh, that was a
Okay, and
mistake.
5 is green, 6 is blue because of polarity. Yeah.
7.
The good thing is if I send you that PDF of the Philosophy of Freedom, none of its colors, you can try your college best. And you'll be surprised how easy it is. You think it's hard maybe today, but when you start getting into the book, you'll be like, oh wow, you made it so obvious. It's not even challenging. 7-5, who wants to read? Thank you.
And that whole paragraph is blue?
7 is blue,
That, right,
but 6 is green.
right.
The one we just finished.
Yeah, I got that.
Yeah. Go ahead.
I am under no illusion in regard to this characteristic of my time.
Right? That nobody's seeking compulsion. Everybody wants to have their individual needs.
6 is
Good.
green.
Next.
Yes.
I know that generic massified culture, individual,
Oh, you don't need that German word.
okay,
That's
lives
great.
and spreads itself throughout society.
Good.
But I know just as well that many of my contemporaries seek to set up their lives according to the direction indicated here. To them, I want to dedicate this work.
So what does Steiner do in that paragraph? So he talks about the his contemporaries, and what does he promise them?
Continued freedom.
Okay. And in what form?
To dedicate his work to them.
He dedicates to their work. Now what does that mean? There's not only one path to truth.
We haven't read that yet.
Oh, that's sentence 4?
No, it's
Sentence 5.
Oh, we didn't do that. Go, I'm so sorry.
Okay. You've done this before.
Stop for a while. Go ahead.
Okay. It should not lead down the only possible path to truth, but it should tell about the path when it's taken, for whom truth is what it is all about.
Right. So he dedicates this philosophy of freedom. That's contemption. That's not even a word. Contemporaries.
Isn't he dedicating it to them to get out of prison? In a sense, or is that too?
Well, you know, it was a new age of individualism. So he's dedicating this way so he thought they could realize their innermost impulses. And by going through this book, they would be inspired to do that. Right? So everyone, you know, the old story goes, everybody should write their own philosophy of freedom. So by kind of fine-tuning your soul, that's what you would eventually do, is really find out what you want to do or what you should be doing. Something along those lines, yeah.
What's the word after philosophy at the bottom?
Philosophy of freedom. Okay. Does anybody see any polarities between 1 and 7?
You mean 1 and 5?
Paragraph 1 and 7.
1 and 5.
Oh, and the whole
The
thing.
whole thing.
This one and this one. 1-3 and 7-5.
He's sort of addressing the whole aspect of why this is out there, in a sense, right? Why this book is sort of
Yeah.
why it's
So here's why the book, right? Something about the book. In here, he's giving the book. So they're both books. How about 2 and 6? What's a basic polarity of 2 and 6?
I'm sorry, back to 1, it's almost as though it's saying, well, in 7, it's saying, sure, tell us about what path you took, but don't tell us that this is the only path. And in 1, he's doing that, he's saying he's using I a lot.
Right.
He's saying, this is what I did, this is what I did.
The eyes are reversed, right? Remember the last one?
Yeah.
And then 4 has no I, which is the midpoint. It's we. But here the eyes are on the bottom. I and I.
Right, because he says, I understand in 7 that he says, that's the path he took.
Yeah.
And so because that was his path to come to the truth, and he lays it out, that's how I understand.
Some people argue about that, but let's say let's say Steiner's like really smart, right? So here's the path to truth. For whom truth is what it's all about. So this is one interpretation. So let's say Mark goes his path, and when I'm a little kid, I'm doing pretty good on the path to truth. And then I cut across and take a little break from truth, go backwards, and then get back on. But had I followed not the only path to truth, because there's many,
Yeah.
but there's only one path to truth. But we don't take it.
Right.
As opposed to all paths don't lead to truth. So I think he's making a lofty claim.
Right.
If you follow my book, you'll not waste a lot of time that you would waste following other
Right,
paths.
that's what I'm saying.
Oh,
He
okay.
says, I followed this, I give you that book, if you follow that, you will come out of the truth. He doesn't say that plain, but that's what I read.
Yeah. Well, I think you're right. Yeah. As far as I could tell. Yeah, there's only one path to truth, and most people don't take it, and he gave you a shortcut to the consciousness of truth. Right? And his claim the book will be valid for another 3,000 years or something.
Doesn't feel like shortcut.
The polarity between 3 and 5, anybody see one?
Did we do 2 and 6?
Did we? Maybe not. 2 and 6?
Maybe, yeah, I guess the heart versus would be in the first part. He's like promoting the heart path, and then Fichte might have been a logical thought path.
Yeah. And it's funny because here you have Fichte, and Fichte's coercion, and then you have Steiner's heart path, and then actually here you have Schiller. So this is the only time he actually mentions people by name. So you have Schiller and Fichte. That's your polarity. The polarity between the philosopher of coercion and the philosopher of choice. Right? Yeah. Excellent. 3? Yeah.
Hold on. Wasn't Schiller more concerned with our feeling life, with our aesthetic sensibility, cultivating that? And Fichte seemed to, I mean, I read a little bit, but Steiner, my understanding is that spirit is universal. a feeling is individual.
Right, but if you read Schiller, Schiller says you should ennoble the feeling so it becomes a universal good habit. So for example, if you take any kind of feelings, Schiller says keep practicing that feeling till it becomes genuine even though it's not in your nature. So there is a kind of,
Spiritual reality,
yeah.
you know, there was a distance, he didn't close the gap.
Well, yeah, it's just the inverse because Schiller's kind of developmental, where Hegel says the thought is father of the feeling. Schiller says a healthy feeling foundation leads to healthy thoughts. So it's just a different way of looking at the same. Yes?
You know, in your book, you refer to the work of Byron Katie
Yeah.
as somewhat parallel. And with regards to making your feelings universal, she has this brilliant exercise in her workshop where you write down this terrible thing that happened to you. You find a partner, and then you read it. And of course, at the beginning, you're crying, and you keep doing it. And then after about the 5th or 6th reading, you're cracking up because it's so hysterical.
That's basically Schillerian, right?
Yeah.
And he says that in the aesthetic letters and in the Anmut and Würde, that you should practice till your feelings change. And every human can do that, right?
Yeah.
Anything else? 3 and 5? Yes.
Paragraph 7, sentence 1.
Okay.
So the whole paragraph is blue, right?
Yes.
But I am under no illusion in regard to this characteristic in my time. So is that a yellow?
That's a blue.
That's a blue.
Because it's a subform. So 7-5 has a little 5 form. So I am under no illusion of my time. The Schablonentum, people are making themselves to specify culture. I forget what 3 sentence 3 is.
But
I know just as well, right? I am under no illusion. The culture is making itself wide and big. I know.
So 3 is the turnaround.
Turning inside out.
So
He
that's
knows.
that's the red. Yeah.
Yes. And then sentence 4 is yellow, green, and then blue. What's the polarity 3 and 5? Anyone see anything?
Fixed and creative.
Fixed.
Creative.
Oh, fixed knowledge here. And this is creativity. Okay. Right? And they're both about truth, right? In this case, it's kind of objective and knowledge is more internal, right? So there's something there. Because these paragraphs don't exactly talk about those topics.
Internal and external as well.
That you can always switch around. There's a lot of flexibility with internal, external. Depends on what point of view you're taking towards the text. But it's all there. Is everybody okay? That means no, huh? Where's my sponge?
Behind you. Behind you.
It's fine.
It's on the floor there.
It bounced away.
Yeah, it's next
By
to
the
the
stairs.
steps to your.
It's at the
to
very
your-
end over here, next to the
That
steps.
way.
No kidding.
We saw it, but we didn't want to say it.
Oh, you should have said something.
I missed the red.
All right. What do you expect in paragraph 8? How many sentences does it have? What position is it in the thought organism?
6.
6 sentences. So what's the form of 6 sentences? Yeah, so 2 times 3, up and down. What should paragraph 8 be about? What is it polar to, indirectly? What color is paragraph 8?
Isn't it blue?
7 is blue, because there's only 13.
Well, then it would have to be green.
Yes, it's green. So what should it talk about? If it's green, it should talk about
Life.
life.
Process.
Okay, let's read it. This is, you'll see. If it's a dead ringer. Who wants to read? Big voice? Thank you.
The book leads at first into more abstract spheres where thought must take on sharp contours.
The book, thought takes on contours. He even says it. What is a contour?
The thing.
The shape.
It's a shape. So the thought takes, I mean, you could take it poetically. He's a sharp thinker. He's going to differentiate and make definitions and cut people off. Or take it literally. It has contours, right? I mean, it doesn't get any clearer than that. Keep going.
So that's a blue sentence.
That's a blue sentence.
Number 2.
Yeah.
However, the reader will be led out of these dry concepts and into concrete life.
So there's your life. And what color sentence is that?
Green.
Green. So it's life sentence talking about life. Thought contours, concrete life. What else? Keep going.
3, I am certainly of the opinion that one must lift oneself into the ether world of concepts if one wants to penetrate existence in all directions.
So you have to go into pure thinking, right? If you want to know the world best. The ether world of concepts. And if it's etheric, that means it's living, it has a living form. So etheric concepts.
Oh, so 3 is green also?
It's red.
Red.
Right, because there's the why, penetrate existence. Why, that's the ultimate why.
Oh, I see. Wait, so you have the book has thought contours, then concrete life is green, and if you, what's the third sentence?
I am certainly of the opinion that one must lift oneself into the ether world of concepts if one wants to penetrate existence in all its directions.
Right, so that's red.
Yeah.
And that's the etheric concepts?
I just put that, the etheric world of concepts, or whatever he calls it.
So I was just saying that penetrate existence feels like an astral,
Oh, okay, right.
right? Because
Word.
you're the why.
Yeah, that's the ultimate goal, to collect from the world of intuition, right? Good. Sentence 4?
He who only knows how to have pleasure through his senses doesn't know life's finest pleasure.
What color is that sentence?
Red.
Red. It's a declining red. What did I say? It's moral, right? So he does this again and again. Any declining red, no matter which lecture or book you read, has some kind of moral importance to the reader. Great.
3 and 4 are red.
Yes, because one's declining red, or a swooping, whatever you want to call it. Go ahead.
The Eastern masters have their disciples spend years in a life of renunciation and asceticism before they disclose to them what they themselves know.
So you have the Eastern masters, and guess who comes next? The West, right?
Right. And that's green because it's a how.
Yes.
The West no longer requires pious practices and ascetic exercises for scientific knowledge, but what is needed instead is the goodwill that leads to withdrawing oneself for short periods of time from the first-hand impressions of life and entering into the spheres of the pure thought world.
So there's a study group. So once a week you get together, you study these beautiful forms, and then you go home. You don't have to do this all day or, sit and meditate. Just little bursts of intense meditation on thought forms. So the Western path. You retreat for short periods of time into the pure thought world. Isn't that nice? Right? You don't have to join a monastery. What should he say in 9? What color is 9? Yeah. Frank, could you do this one? 9? No. Go slowly.
Good heavens.
So it has how many sentences?
16.
What should the form look like, possibly? How do you break that into symmetrical parts?
2 8s.
2 8s, right? That's really the only thing that would work.
You
So-
could do a bunch of 4s. But
Yeah, a bunch of 4s, 2 4s leaning on each other. So the first 8 will be together, and the second 8 will be together. This is one of my favorite paragraphs in all of Steiner's work. And one time he was giving a lecture, he just stuck it in the lecture. And then there's this man who wrote this book about the philosophy of freedom. He quoted that lecture and said, look what Steiner said about the philosophy of freedom. And that means he actually never read the philosophy of freedom when he compiled those quotes, because he never saw that quote in the second appendix. So you know the Palmer book that has the philosophy of freedom? He never actually read the book. I'm joking. But he didn't notice that that Steiner lecture quote was actually taken word for word. I think Steiner was having fun. So he's talking about something unrelated, and he goes, the spheres of life are many, for each and every sphere. And he just puts it in his lecture, unadulterated. That's kind of funny, I think. But anyways, this is really important, so go ahead.
Does it have 2 yellows in it?
Yes, the two, sentence 4 and 5 will be yellow.
4 yellows.
Sentences 4 and 5 will be yellow.
Yes. Go ahead, Frank, give us the first one.
There are many realms of life.
That's a good first sentence, right? There are many realms of life. Very physical.
No.
Every single one has developed a particular science for itself.
Right. Every realm has developed a science for itself. Very etheric movement.
Right, and develop is the clue.
Right. The verb is active.
Life itself, however, is a unity, and the more the sciences are striving to research in their own specialized areas, the more they distance themselves from the view of the living unity of the world.
Sounds pretty scary, right? So very astral. The sciences are striving in different directions, therefore the sciences can't unify. The world falls into little pieces. So medicine goes this way, history goes that way, philosophy goes that way, right?
And the other soul aspect is the word living unity, because our soul wants that.
Right. Right, and that's the goal, right? So that fits. Usually goals are in the red level, right? Go ahead.
There must be a type of knowing that seeks in the specialized sciences that which is necessary to lead us back once more to the wholeness of life.
So there's a new science. What is this new science he's talking about?
Spiritual science.
Spiritual science? But yeah, it's the new thinking, right?
And 4 is, you said that was yellow?
That was yellow. So it goes, the spheres of life are many. Each one develops its own science. The sciences are becoming estranged. There must be a new science that, unifies the elements? What's sentence 5?
The specialized researcher.
Oh, okay. Keep going.
The specialized researcher wants, through his own knowledge, to gain an understanding of the world and its workings.
So that's your yellow. Now you have the researcher turning inside out. So the first half is the sciences falling apart and looking for a unity. The second half is going to be, right? Go ahead.
There's two sentences in number 5, right?
Oh, keep going. Sorry.
In this book, the goal is a philosophical one. Science shall itself become organic living.
Science shall itself become. How do you make science organic living? By having an organic thinking, right?
So this is the who,
Yes.
and the who is the researcher.
And the future human.
So we have the realms of life, specialized sciences, and how does he phrase it? A new philosophy? What does he say?
Free, living unity? What?
What was the last sentence 5?
Science shall itself become organic living.
So science, that's the goal of the book, right? So there needs to be an organic living science. Good. Go ahead.
The specialized sciences are preliminary stages of the science striven for here.
Good. Keep going.
A similar relationship predominates in the arts.
Okay, so now he's connecting the sciences, right? Science is the ordering of ideas correctly. That's all it is, right? And now he's making an art analogy.
The composer works on the basis of the theory of composition.
And that's a blue sentence.
That's a blue sentence. New thought form, second 8, right? sentence 9. Go ahead.
The latter is the sum of knowledge whose possession is a necessary precondition of composing. In composing, the laws of the theory of composition serve life itself, serve actual reality.
So this is a complicated thing. What is compositional theory, by the way?
You mean in music?
That's the problem. Is he talking about music or actually in the art form of composition? So if it's the music, it still works. But he's actually talking about seeing ideas and putting them in their proper place, like a painting. That used to be an art. You don't just put the house there or that, or when you write a philosophy book, he's talking about a new type of thought artist where the artist can see where everything interrelates. It's like a tableau thinking.
Would feng shui be like an old form of that?
Absolutely. Where everything is matters,
Yeah.
energetically.
Yeah, right.
And Steiner's making the same claim. If you're a thought artist, if you're a compositional theorist, those combinations matter.
Yeah.
Interrelationships matter.
Yeah.
And that's how people could write books without cut and paste.
Yeah. Right.
Today, we can't even fathom, how could you write a book and you didn't have a word processor?
Yeah.
Because you could place,
And there is a collage style that Steiner sometimes uses himself, but that's a little advanced for today. But it's an aspect of organic living style. So you could take organic elements that line up very closely and make a simple organic structure. Or you like Dadaism, you take unrelated pieces and make them organic. There's two ways to do that. But
That
let's
impulse, I think, I'm going to discount Steiner, but that impulse was, it was the time because you had Wagner's, total experience. I've never been to Bayreuth, but that was the idea, that music had.
It's funny you bring that up. That's in Lounce's book. And when he said that Wagner is looking for this new compositional art that takes in all the aspects. But Lounce unfortunately says he failed.
The Russian Stiragin was doing the original light shows with the music.
Right, so there were attempts, at least according to Lounce. However, Steiner was successful. Oh yeah, it's a little dense, but yeah, go to that section, not bad. All right, go ahead.
is 9 a blue again?
9 is red. Wait, the paragraph or sentence?
Sentence.
Yes, it's blue.
It's blue, it sounds.
It's blue again because it's the starting of a new 8 form.
Oh,
Huh,
Not bad.
didn't feel red to me.
No, I thought you were talking about this 9. So I got confused. Yeah, so this is blue here.
And then we go up the ladder again.
Then you're going to go up again. This is the second thought form. So the first thought form is about science and the new science. The second half is about the compositional artist and the power of ideas. Where are we?
11.
Go ahead.
In exactly the same sense, philosophy is a creative art.
Right? It's a compositional art, which is different than normal philosophy. Go ahead.
All genuine philosophers are concept artists. Through them, human ideas become artistic materials, and the scientific method became artistic technique.
So what does that mean? Scientific method became the technique. So you're speaking truth, but you're organizing the ideas in an artistic way. So you have the facts and truth of science, but now you bring them into a coherent organic whole. What's kind of what Steiner's doing in the thinking, right? Go ahead.
Thereby, abstract thinking gains concrete individual life. Ideas become life powers.
What number are you on? I'm sorry.
14.
14.
14.
I made a mistake in my colors.
Hmm?
These colors are correct. What I had before was wrong.
Keep going.
Oh, I'm
We
lost.
have then not just a knowing about things, but we have made knowing instead into an actual self self-governing organism.
Say that again.
We have then not just a knowing about things, but we have made knowing instead into an actual self-governing organism. Our authentic, active consciousness has placed itself above a mere passive receiving of truths.
So, if you're always in your normal mind, you always have the battle of all the ideas flowing. When you start to think in this form, like a tableau, where you're writing down your ideas and seeing ideas, those ideas can no longer oppress you because you can see them objectively. So that's your authentic consciousness, right? That's what he's trying to say. So by making these diagrams again and again and again, eventually you don't need the blackboard. You can just put the ideas on your own screen and see them. And they don't control you, at least as much.
What just occurred to me is the difference between having thoughts and thinking. Thinking being an activity, an active having thoughts is it's a memory. They're already there. They're not something that we're. So this is. Steiner wasn't the only person at that time who came to this impulse.
Right.
A lot of philosophers at the time were groping towards that.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the important things, and people don't like it when I say it, but there's nothing really original in the book.
Right?
Yeah.
It's the art that makes it crazy.
Well, I think
So,
it's
yeah, he was,
Ideas become life powers.
he needed
That's
that
green.
culture kind of to write about
Ideas
what he
become
wrote
life.
about.
That's a
right?
game.
Green.
But he actually
Green.
gave a practice. I think that's what's significant.
Well, I don't know. Schiller's not a bad philosopher,
11 is red.
and Hegel too. You know, and there's a reason why he really draws on their ideas.
Yeah, but try to.
10 is green.
I know, it's impossible. Any questions about 9? We okay there? Does everybody kind of feel the importance of that paragraph? Does it feel like it's confirming what we're doing today?
What was the color of the paragraph?
Red.
Red.
Yeah, it's kind of the goal. The goal is to have a new active consciousness and organic ideas.
I feel like I didn't hear the morality as.
Oh, okay. The moral aspect, that would be the other side. So we're on 9, which is red. You want to wait for 11.
But within the paragraph, it should have.
Oh, you mean the declining red?
Yeah, the declining red.
Yeah, yeah. And they're one sentence each. I'd have to think about it. I don't necessarily, I wouldn't force that. Yeah, if it doesn't have it, it doesn't have it. Yeah, I never claimed that it would. But for example, in the preface, it's not so much morality, but he says, this is the important. Scientists need certainty. It's something pressing. The anthroposophists need the foundation of their spiritual experience. So it's not like he's warning you, but he's kind of indicating something important to your own inner need. 10? Oh, what color is 10?
Green.
Almost.
Oh, the paragraph?
Yeah, the paragraph.
Oh, the paragraph.
Yeah.
What was 16?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought-
10-3, sorry.
I thought we're still on sentences.
No, we finished 16, right?
Okay, so it would have to be
Yellow.
Yellow.
What was 16?
yellow.
10 is
Yeah.
yellow.
10-3 is yellow.
Oh, there's only 3 sentences.
It's only 3 sentences.
10.
The yellow one's always short.
It depends on.
16.
10,
What was 16?
I say that. It is a lot of times short, yes.
red.
I'm trying to think if there's many exceptions.
16.
There's not a lot of exceptions.
Blue.
What color is, so, who would like to read that?
It starts with a blue even though it's in highlight.
It's a who. 10-3. Should be yellow.
Right, the whole thing.
The whole thing's yellow, first sentence is blue. Okay. You want to read it, Lisa?
How philosophy as art relates to the freehood of the human being, what freehood is, and whether we are active in our freehood or able to become active. This is the main question of my book.
And what does that mean? So philosophy as art as it relates to freedom, right, or freehood.
What is the thing with freehood?
As an attempt to bring back the correct word, like freedom is a piece of land where you boss people around if you own it, and freehood is like motherhood or brotherhood. It's not a piece of land. Or knighthood. Knighthood has to do with your honor and
Yeah,
skill.
freehood is more of a state, whereas freedom sounds
Right,
like a
freedom comes
place.
from kingdom.
Yeah.
So the attempt was to give a new word so people would have a sense that it's not so rounded.
Right.
So how philosophy as an art relates to freedom, the same thing again. If you're thinking organically in pictures, artistically, that's related to your freedom, right? So it's a different, where did he make the same statement before in the preface?
The last paragraph,
What did he say?
that philosophers are conceptual artists.
Okay, how about the 6-paragraph preface that we did like an hour ago? Does that make it in there? Philosophy is art? Okay, I'll test you later, you'll find it. Sentence number 2?
Oh, I'm so sorry. All other scientific explanations are included here only because they provide an explanation. In my opinion, about these things that are of importance to human beings.
Okay, so scientific things. So so he talks about science, right? And the third sentence?
And that's a green, right? That's a
That's a green,
Right.
yeah.
A philosophy of freehood shall be given in these pages.
Yeah, a philosophy of freehood should be given in these pages, which is a very odd statement. But the freehood is on the pages, not in the content. So if you understand the new thinking, it makes sense. If you're reading the book theoretically, it makes no sense. Back to paragraph 11.3, what should he say? What color is 11.3?
What?
Red.
Red.
11.
11.4. 11.4, excuse me. I'm too happy.
That's right.
11.4, what color is it?
You just said red.
Red. And is ascending or descending? And if descending, it should have a strong what kind of quality? Moral. All right, someone read that out loud. Darryl?
All scientific endeavors would be only a satisfying of idle curiosity if they did not strive toward uplifting the existential worth of the human personality.
Right, that should be in your yearbook quote, right? It doesn't get any more preachy than that. I don't even know how to condense that right now.
And is that a yellow?
That's a red. Oh, the first sentence?
Yeah.
Let's not give you an answer. Let's say it's blue for now, but it could be yellow, because I don't want to give you a fixed answer. It could start backwards. It could start yellow, red, green, blue. But you'll only know after you've read the last sentence and compared them for a week. Keep going.
Oh, the sciences attain their true value only by demonstrating the human significance of their results.
Yes.
I have a question in the sentence, number 1.
Yes.
Existential worth of the human personality, and why human personality and not human being?
I don't know. Steiner wrote personality. There must be some reason that, personally, I'm not a person who argues vocabulary, but my friends are and my teacher was. So he said, Persönlichkeit, which is personality.
Which is, or person.
It could be person.
Like
so
as
those
in
are
personhood.
Personhood might not be bad.
Right.
But it's a little awkward, but freehood is awkward too.
But essentially, is that synonymous with human being?
Personality.
I would not translate
Yeah,
personality.
that's a good question, like what in
Personality.
German, and I don't know if that's, it's interesting, it seems to ring everybody's bell. So I'm not gonna defend, I think it's Lowndes' choice, or even Lindemann's,
when you speak of a human being, you speak
What is he saying?
almost
Yes,
as a
it's human being.
generic. I mean, you're speaking
person.
of a
So what's the
personality.
Existence or worth of the person, that's how I would
Yeah,
translate
real
it.
people.
So what is that?
Yeah, that might be a good reason. It is a moral paragraph, right? Is that okay, Roman?
It could
No.
be the scientists themselves and their kind of will to have existential value.
Right? And so a person would be, more, like he said, less general.
So what's the
universal.
difference between a person and a human being?
We think person was one case, right? As he said.
Oh, I didn't hear that. I can hardly hear him.
And a human being could be anybody, right?
But
Okay,
in,
I
in
can
light,
understand that.
in light of saying things that fit our time, the word personhood has come to mean something, and we say that corporations have personhood.
Yeah.
We're not saying they have humanhood, although that's what they mean. But so I think that we can use the word person, not to just mean one person, but person, human, being human.
Right. I have no problem.
Yeah.
And you can't get me to argue on that one. I'll argue on something else.
So, sentence 2 could also be, it typically, we're agreeing, but it also could possibly be read.
Yeah, sure. Striving is in there, demonstrating. But now read the red sentence and see how that goes.
Not the refinement of any single capacity of soul can be the final goal of individuality. But
So, even though you had striving in 2, you have goal in 3, which is a kind of enhancement in goality, if that's a word. Right?
Okay.
So normally, okay, keep going.
Where am I? But rather the development of all the faculties slumbering within us.
So that's a little bit more astral.
Can you
Right?
read the whole sentence again?
Not the refinement of any single capacity of soul can be the final goal of individuality, but rather the development of all the faculties slumbering within us.
You could drop that sentence at the school board, right? That would be popular. Or?
Knowledge only has value when it contributes to the all-sided unfolding of the whole human nature.
Right, so Frank, that one's pretty moral, right?
Yeah.
So what's the keys here? So it's science's relationship to man, right? What should it do? Uplift or does it increase the value of the human being?
Uplift.
What else? Uplift.
Refine.
You see, he keeps coming back to he uses the term individuality, he uses.
Give me a
Being
condensed.
is generic. I think we have to make that distinction.
Okay. But each sentence is a little different, right?
How about broadening in this number 4, all-sided unfolding,
Okay.
or expanding?
That seems to be the key, right?
Something about human significance. Practical.
All-sided unfolding of human, what do you like?
Human nature.
Human nature?
Well, that's what it says.
That's what he
Oh, okay.
says.
But this is a great paragraph, right?
Okay.
Yeah, you can't. And it's clear he repeats himself there 4 times. Right? Just from different perspectives. That's a really set paragraph 2, this paragraph, right? Each time the same thing taken from a different angle. Paragraph 12. Did I count right? 12:1?
Yeah.
Anyone?
Probably don't.
What color is it?
Green.
Green. Okay.
That's nice.
Yeah, so it's all blue in a green paragraph. Any volunteers?
This book therefore conceives the relationship between scientific knowledge and life, not in such a way that man has to bow down before the idea and consecrate his forces to its service, but rather in the sense that the human being masters the world of ideas in order to make use of it for his human goals, which transcend the mere scientific.
So that's a really heavy sentence. So the book
Good.
has the relationship of life and science in such a way that mankind is the master of the idea, right? Not subjugate. That's a really heavy, incomprehensible sentence, right?
Oh, no,
Not really.
not really.
No. Understand it.
This is, didn't Aquinas sort of
Compassion.
do that, lead up to
It's
that?
the bridge.
that exact
Life and so-
dilemma?
That's a good question. I don't know. Any questions about that? Can we leave it at that? The last sentence? Blue?
One must experience and place oneself consciously above the idea. Otherwise, one falls into its absurdity.
What's the synopsis there?
Be careful.
Right? That's your final warning.
The future of the Anthroposophical Society.
Yeah.
Okay.
This is the birth of alternative facts.
So what's the warning? How does he say, what's the verb he uses?
One falls into servitude.
Servitude or what? What's the other choice?
Above the idea,
Consciously.
consciously above
Above
it.
the idea.
Above the idea.
I like that.
And so that's why.
And that's
I mean,
a yellow
this is literal-
sentence, right?
A literal understanding that it's about the text work. It's about sketching ideas and seeing them in their order. You do it consciously. There's no, even if you take this literally, that's what it says, again and again. So,
Is that a blue sentence?
yeah, that's blue. So let's say if we do some of the colors.
It's, the sentence is blue?
Yeah, because there's only one.
I thought it was yellow, but I.
I thought it was yellow too.
Yeah.
The last sentence, 13.
Uh-huh. Because it starts with a one, and placing oneself is pretty much, there you go.
Oh, I'll put blue underneath it. I mean, yellow underneath it.
So how do ideas then become, if we're not to fall into servitude, how do ideas then become something that, usually ideas somehow become concrete, which makes it sort of solid? How do we get that to where that concrete, something has become concrete from an idea, continue to?
Well, the second half, he plays on different levels. So if you're talking about the idea becoming concrete, in the second half of the book, he talks about making choices in your life, freedom. So by having these intuitions and acting on them, thereby the idea becomes concrete, becomes useful to your life, you're free, right? That's on one level. On the other level, if you are doing this type of thinking, you have a tendency to inspirations, you can make abstract ideas concrete plans, be it an architect, a gun manufacturer, a teacher, right? So it's still, some of it, depends on your point of view. Are you referring to the book? Are you referring to the reader, right? So you want to keep that flexible. Or for example, what is technology? It's a mixture of science and art, right? Because you can have the capacity to do something, but then you can't incorporate it into a computer, into a project. So it just stays science. It never becomes technology. You need art. How do you make the keyboard? How do you do that? All those little things are artistic questions. And science meets art and you have technology. So there's so much in there in just terms of general wisdom. That's why we study it so carefully, because when you leave after a couple months studying this, you actually know these ideas second nature and can apply them, as well as enjoying the form. So he says ideas become powers. When you meditate like this, it creates energy. When you think logically, it takes away. So if you need your coffee in the morning, you would kind of study your preface before you go to work to get your little fix. And then, of course, in the study group, when you have 7 people presenting, you don't become tired, you become more energized. Especially, the difference is, let's say, this study and another study group, other study groups, because people don't really know how to prepare unless it has very strict guidelines, about 50% of people will come to a study group unprepared, no matter where it is. But if you're doing this work, trust me, we had a rule that if you didn't prepare, you couldn't talk. So you have somebody being like, oh shit, I should have prepared, you know, because they can't talk. Because people who don't prepare talk the most. That's usually, I mean, we all know that about ourselves, right? You don't know what you're doing, you try to overcompensate. So the study group has people bringing to it, so everybody gets energized and leaves energized. So it's the opposite of what you normally do, you know, energy, mooching, whatever you call it.
Yellow.
What's that?
You have to finish with the yellow. I'm hanging.
Oh, just
4 and 10.
Yeah, that's yellow. Just it looks better.
And you said it was paragraph 3?
I feel like we've read the philosophy of freedom in a day and a half.
Paragraph 1 is really good for getting in the mood of writing. So let's say, did you ever write a poem and sometimes before you write a poem you read someone else's to get you in the mood?
Yeah.
Do the same thing with this. And the following will be shown what was once stood as a preface, da 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 da. I placed it here as an appendix not because of da 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 da. Oh, I wanted only da da. And you get in the mood of the colors. So remember how you did the presentation before? As you practice that presentation over and over again, you want to bring more and more color to what you're doing. More and more feeling. And that's the same with this. You can just take, let's say you don't want to prepare synopses, you can just read the text out loud according to color. That's a lazy man's way to do it. It works just fine. You will get high. And one of the problems with this, if you do this and very intensely, you will become very high. And you could be very unpleasant to people around you because you become giddy and sometimes you can't sleep. So you have to do this in doses. This is not a game. If you read in the old way, confused and whatever, you don't usually get a buzz. But you will get high as a kite. And when that heart chakra goes open, you start falling in love with all sorts of people. I mean, some of it, I guess, is good. But that's the result of doing proper study.
But wasn't it the paragraph 3 earlier that you said that if you worked on the 3 sentences, it would open up your heart chakra? Was it this?
Any of them, but I thought number 1 is a really good, clear one because the levels are so clear. He started that second appendix with really clear levels. That's the purpose. It's just like the calendar of the soul, but you got to have the right translation and bring the right mentality to it. And not all of the calendar verses are so easy.
You said you had.
I have a O'Neill version of it. Does everybody have this? You guys want to take a 5-minute break and we'll come to close?
Don't erase it yet,
Don't erase
please.
it yet?
Please, don't erase it yet.
Of the philosophy of freedom, a way to find the book.
Oh yeah, let me write those
in the
down.
right way so that we get our chakra open by reading it.
Good luck.
I actually was supposed to do one exercise with you. I didn't do it, and it's not good that I didn't do it. So, yeah, let's take the break and let me just teach you the meditation. It's also in my book, but shame on me for not showing you. But I have to show this to you. If you, even if you're not doing this work, you should know this meditation so that you stay in a safe space. But let me,
Let's do that
Yeah, let's do that
before we go.
Okay,
Exactly,
before-
let's do that now. That is
do it now?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the only, we need.
All right, can I erase this now?
Yeah.
Should I erase the
As
other
far as
side
I'm
first?
concerned, you can.
All right, you have to do it again anyway. You can always look on my website or call me.
That's amazing.
And
It doesn't seem like that could take that whole hour.
What we did today? Yeah, of course. Yeah, we'll go through the chapters and everything.
Go back to when I studied. Do this kind of work, chapter by chapter.
Yeah, you should do chapter by
So
chapter.
this was the 13 chapters of the
Yeah, we went
philosophy
to-
of freedom.
It's, no, not of the,
Yeah,
wait,
this was the 13
And all the
chapters.
chapter forms should be in that book. If you need them,
No,
otherwise on my
wait.
website.
no, this is.
Yeah, this is paragraph.
It is It's the second appendix.
Oh, well, it goes through the 13 chapters, I mean, does it? Maybe
I don't know.
Never mind, John. Never mind, I don't know what I'm talking about.
Okay, give me 15 minutes and I'll let you, I'll stay as long as you want, but I have to do this with you now before the break.
What's the
And then
pranic tube?
afterwards, if, yeah, you can ask me any question you want. This is called the pranic tube. And this is the basic problem. What happens if your heart chakra or any chakra opens up after a yoga class?
Vulnerable.
Okay, why are you vulnerable?
Because other spirits can get at you.
Right.
Other
So,
spirits.
not only spirits, but this is the relationship. You know, if you take Steiner literally or Barbara Ann Brennan, I don't know if you've written to her work at all. So your aura normally is approximately this big, right? Depending on who you are. It's happened that maybe about 10 to 20% of the people have retracted their aura to skin level. It's not clear why they do that. So they actually don't have a full aura. And they're not being totally damaged. So it's a weird modern phenomenon. The other phenomenon is a lot of people kind of walk in the front of their feet, they're not grounded. So if you do kind of physical labor or T25, you ever see that video, P90X, that'll get you grounded, right? Still stamping, you're really working your body hard. You gotta do some kind of grounding, garden work, something. Or if you can't do that, you gotta bring earth energy into your body, grounding energy. Steiner gave some indications, mostly for curative eurythmists, but this is kind of a healthy shortcut. So as Frank said, let's say you do your text work or you go to your yoga class and your heart chakra just looks nice and open. But the thing is, your aura is not covering it. And this is part of the problem with my teacher's work. He wrote Enlivening the Chakra of the Heart. So if you went to one of his workshops, we would do this really wonderful, very special curative eurythmy, and within a couple of hours, all your chakras are nice and open, and your aura is right here. So what happens, you're completely vulnerable to all sorts of things, and good, positive, loving chakra work becomes a menace to yourself. So you don't want to do that. The other thing is, when most of us interact, especially mother and children and people who live in a lot of fear, they send out energetic cords to feel. Some people don't, I should talk. We all cord. I don't cord anymore, I hope, because I've been
Don't
practicing
what?
this for years.
Cord.
Cord.
Horde.
So you see a mother and
Cord.
child, you'll see the mother and child have a cord connecting, maybe several. Or you ever see two people fighting, then someone sends out a cord behind the head and they try to convince your mind of something, I'm right, and they'll cord you while they're speaking.
Cord.
Yeah. However, if your auric space is full of light, they can't cord you.
I like the term tentacle.
Yes, they're true tentacles, and you can see them in Barbara Ann Brennan's second book. So what you want to do is keep your aura full on purpose. So the pranic tube meditation basically is like this. Instead of just going to a study group and having your heart chakra open, let's say I'm really happy, my heart chakra is open, and you criticize me, and I'm not used to being criticized, I punish you by slamming my heart chakra closed, or other chakras too. That is so damaging, and we all do it. So a lot of times when you get jealous or upset, oh my God, you start slamming your chakras down, and it's so painful, but you've gotten used to living with that pain. So what this pranic tube also does is trains you to keep them open even when you're scared. Like if you go to a horror movie and you're jumping out of your seat, that's not good for you. You shouldn't be watching movies like that. Or if you're a jealous person and stuff, you really got to work on that, because when you slam, a lot of times the only way we know how to get someone back is by shutting down. You see that in the Asian community where I live, where a husband's mad at his wife, he will not let her feel him at all. He'll shut himself down and be in terrible pain to punish her. It's very Japanese. My wife is Japanese, so I get to see some of the neat things they do to each other. Yes?
Is that like, when you're driving in LA traffic, is that sort of the way everyone's mad? Is that kind of the same thing?
Well, there's mad, and then there's mad where they slam their chakras down and then they become out of control and something else takes over. But even in a healthy relationship, let's say making love, when that love feeling becomes intense and people can feel, oh, I'm transcending myself, some issues can come up and they'll slam their heart chakra closed during lovemaking. And now you have both partners, and the partner follows, and you have two partners who've shut down, and now they start having pains in their chest a couple of days later. They don't know why. So there hasn't been a training for this so much. So it's unfair for me to send you out into the world to do this work without having the protection. And the reason this is protective is the first part of the pranic tube is you're going to connect to the Earth's core grounding energy and bring that energy up. And then there's something called the spiritual sun, where you have your core, right, according to Steiner. And you're going to open your pranic tube is basically this space going straight up. It's a tube. And then through that tube you bring, so to say, energy from the sun. And this sun energy lifts you up, and then it goes to the earth, and then the earth energy grounds you to the sun. So you're being uplifted and grounded at the same time. And then what you're going to do is you're going to open up a space in the pranic tube in the front, and then fill your auric space with energy that comes out of your heart space, and that fix all the tears and holes in your aura. And you want to do this, well, if you're a happy, good-go-lucky person, you should do it once a day, twice a day. It's really, you'll see the difference.
And when you talk about this connection, I mean, I'm assuming, are you saying to go outside and actually?
No, you can do it anywhere.
Yeah, we can do it right here,
Mhm.
without.
We're going to do it right here once or twice. I'll take you through it.
Mark, there's something now that is out in popular culture called earthing, which is about connecting to the earth, walking barefoot on the beach or in a pasture or something. And now there's a company that's produced a way of doing that without leaving your house. You put an electrical ground into the wall, and then this is connected to a mat, and you stand on that, and you can feel the earth energy.
If it works, I don't know. I'd have to
I've
try
not
it.
tried
Yeah.
it.
It doesn't work.
But you could just try it
Have
yourself.
you tried it?
I mean, the earth energy is not limited. You wouldn't need a substitute, I would think. I mean, it might be fun to have
probably
energy
it.
flow.
But if you can't go outside.
Right. Oh, I see.
People live
Yeah,
in
I guess
apartments
so.
after all.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even know where to go with that. So what happens first is, so you open
I'll
your
tell
pranic
you how
tube,
it
connect to
works. I
sun
learned it.
energy, bring it down to the earth, and then bring the grounding energy up to the sun. So it's one step down, one step up. Open a heart space front and back, and then you're filling your auric space with light emanating from the openings you've made. Then you close those openings, we breathe, and then you get yourself grounded and you're finished. So what eventually happens is that your aura becomes full. So when you do slam down or when you do open your chakras, first of all, are any of you good at feeling how wide your aura is?
And doing
Anyone?
what?
Do you know how wide your aura is? Did anybody have that feeling? Have you ever done those exercises where you bring it in and out? It's a great exercise to do because you can actually feel where your aura is, bring it all the way to your skin, expand it out, and strengthen it. And you can eventually see your aura and see and feel where there's holes. And that's what you want to practice every day, this important hygiene.
Now, is this also could be related to immune system?
Well, I don't see why not. If you're bringing light, grounding light and stuff like that, you're expanding. If you're in an expanded existence, you'll generally feel better. Because you're going away from that tendency of shutting down, allowing, there's people on the street that will cord every single person that walks by. In other words, they send out energetic cords literally to everyone who passes them.
Consciously?
Unconsciously, or maybe, some crazy people or something do that too. Sure, because they want to connect with people but don't know how. Yeah.
I have a question to what you're saying. So it makes sense for me, and I have experience that I can open like my heart and try to do that, but I haven't heard it, but it came from yourself. This is one chakra. Can you do also through, and I haven't experienced it, maybe here, could you send something out from another chakra into your aura?
Any chakra. In New York City, where people are particularly disgusting, they shut all these chakras. Well, you go to California, there's a lightness here. In New York, they shut this down, and they hook you from the bottom chakra, and they hook you from the head. It's a very uncomfortable place to be. Everybody's judging, and everybody's sexualized. They hook you from below. So you know, New York's a horrible place, right? It's where I grew up.
I know it.
So when they hook you with their eyes, you ever been hooked by someone's eyes? They're talking to you, and you're like, my eyes hurt whenever why are they staring at me? So there's different energetic formations. My dad, I practice. I have a teacher who's pretty advanced, and she teaches me, and she says, go test yourself. So I do that quite a bit. Get on the phone with my dad, and I can feel like a metal band developing around my head. He's trying to shut down my mind so he can control me. He's a very controlling guy. So I had to learn, okay, I better get off the phone. I'm not ready yet. Go do these meditations. Keep preparing, going into a loving space until your aura is full. And then you'll have a great experience. One day, you'll be around a real octopus, and you can actually feel them tapping around your aura looking for holes. Because they don't know how to love you without connecting. And then after a while, they'll give up and respect your space. We all have to go there, because we do it so much.
Alex Pawlinsky, I don't know if you've ever met him, he's the Australian BD farmer. He came here 35 years ago. He spoke about the aura in a very interesting way. He says that when you're driving, we all expand our aura around our vehicle. And that's a very good exercise in sensing how our aura works.
Yeah.
So I thought
Yeah, you can feel it. Yeah, that's a common exercise, and you can retract it, and you see if people drive closer to you, expand it, see if they drive away. When you walk into the room, how are you walking in? Are you walking in from here or here? And you want to test yourself. You walk into a restaurant, are you walking in from here, how people treat you? I mean, it's not a chakra workshop, but it's something you should be conscious of. It's really amazing. Or if you walk in with this open, you know, maybe some people are not used to. Let's say someone doesn't like your power, they're going to cord you right here as much as they can. Sometimes they really twist it to hurt you. Like my dad is like that. Right. But you know, it's what we do. We're all doing it probably right now, but you just are so used to the pain. And when that pain starts going away with these aura pranic tube stuff, when your aura starts getting full, people are going to stop doing it because there's no holes. And so if you look at, let's say, if in anthroposophy, I'm very connected to many eurythmists. Do you know that eurythmists have the shortest lifespan of anthroposophists?
Get out.
Get out. It's been done 25 years ago. They did all these studies of German eurythmists, their husbands, all the factors. A man called Earl Ogletree did the research because he was trying to prove that eurythmy is great and is going to prolong your life. And when he came out with the research, everybody was like, Now, look at eurythmy training. Are they teaching eurythmists to have beautiful big auras? Are there people? Because eurythmy is not a game. It's like this new thinking. You think you're just doing these forms? You're opening yourself up. You're bringing tremendously powerful energies. So the girls and guys who are doing that are in trouble because they don't know anything about, not all of them, most of them don't know about energy.
I have met very old ones, over 80 ones, and they could still do arrhythmia. But this is a long ago, and I
Sure, not everybody's the same, but,
Right, but I mean,
you would expect them to be the
you
ones,
would think, no?
even they're living less than men. It's not even that they're living longer than other women. So
Isn't
their
it-
life expectancy was significantly lower.
Isn't it because they're
I'm not making this
drinking,
up. What's
smoking
that?
cigarettes and eating donuts, I heard.
Who is? Eurythmists?
Eurythmists.
Well, and part of the, no, don't laugh because
What do you say?
there's no other, they're eating and smoking donuts. Eating.
I
Well,
thought
the
you
point
said
is
it's like
because,
that.
how do you get grounded? You can get grounded by smoking.
smoking,
Nicotine's a
yeah.
grounder, alcohol's grounding, if you're not playing sports or doing energetic grounding. So it makes sense. You know, a lot of I know this lady, she's a Brennanist, she's incredibly spiritual. If you whisper her name when she's walking down the street, she turns around. She's an energy healer, she also heals animals, she's fantastic. You know what when I saw her at the supermarket, it was filled with soda and beer and cigarettes. But she still has full clairvoyance. So it's amazing, very spiritual people don't know how to get grounded. It's just really hard work, and there's not like you can go in ancient times to some place in Greece and people would take care of you and heal you. Or in China, you know, they have these places where the monks could go and get fixed. Those places don't exist right now. They have to be invented.
I was talking to.
What places?
I forgot the name.
A place where you can go get
Recently
grounded.
before. And I was talking about Native American healers. And he's Native American. There's, I don't know if you know about Rolling Thunder. Rolling Thunder, he died a few years ago. But his healing technique was not putting energy into people. It was removing their ill energy. He was taking it into himself, and then he was regurgitating. He was overcoming the illness in himself, which some teachers say that's the highest form of healing. It's not imparting your positive energy, which very often is simply a gift. It's not something that was cultivated. Many of these healers are natural healers.
Right.
But that compassion, that being able to take the, and that's what I believe what Christian healing is about. We can see that in the Gospels, that kind of healing.
That's a good question. I had a lot to say on that because I did study with it. But yeah, it's a hard question. Yeah.
You know, with regards to grounding, it is my impression that Steiner recommends that we live our everyday life with, you know, energetic interest and as normal as possible. And like you said, like you indicated, and like he's indicated, you know, small bursts of meditation, maybe once or twice a day, but you know, but our work now is to live our life and find the spiritual world in that.
Right.
And I think that that's a tremendously grounding. You know, really take care of your family, really take care of your friends, really get involved with your neighborhood and all that stuff. Then.
Yeah, I think there's something to it. There's no time to retreat. You got to see in life.
There's no time to retreat. This is we're living in the temple.
But you know, even George, who discovered this, I think he boxed as a young man. When he was doing the occult science and especially design cabin, he was gardening all the time. He knew he had to stay physical because this stuff can knock you off kilter if you're not somehow grounded. Yes?
I've had experiences 2 or 3 times when I've gone to a study group or a lecture series and have been too high and have fallen down.
Yeah.
Because of being ungrounded, and I've learned my lesson finally, I think, but it's very true, you have to really come back to inside.
You got to do it every day. I do. I still do it every day. Even though I'm an incredibly grounded person by nature, but yeah, there's so much that can throw you off. Yeah.
I would love to actually have you show us, to actually do the exercise, because it's not enough for me to see the picture.
Good. Let's, everybody, I guess, stand up, make yourself comfortable, find a space for yourself. I can obviously narrate. You want to maybe slightly spread your legs because I'll just go through the gestures. Yeah, take your time. So the product tube kind of runs through this area. And then what you're going to do is you're going to connect your product tube straight up to what we call the spiritual sun. And then you're going to feel it falling through the sky, through the roof, through your crown chakra. The sun's energy is going to go through your body. You should feel the tingling. If you don't, it's okay. Then the sun's energy is going to go through the floor and connect to the earth's core. And then you're going to bring up earth energy, grounding energy, up through the basement. If there is one here, through the floor, to your base chakra, second chakra, up through your pranic tube, up through your head, and connect with the sun. Then with each breath, you're going to bring energy up and down at the same time into your body. And then I'm going to ask you to open up a space here in the front. And this space, both of those energies are going to fill your auric space. And then I'm going to ask you to open up a space in the back where your pranic energy can fill the back. And then you're going to feel the expanse of your aura. I'm going to say, imagine bringing it out 30 feet. Does that feel comfortable? Some of you might fall down, maybe not, if you're pretty expanded. And I'll say, bring your aura to 10 feet. And I'll ask you to keep breathing and filling the space, filling the tears. And when that's finished, I'm going to ask you to close the space in the front and the back, to breathe slowly, and to get grounded. Is that okay? So that's the model. So everybody close your eyes. Take 3 slow breaths at your own pace. Everybody breathe naturally. Feel your feet, adjust your posture. Now, at the top of your head, open your pranic tube, bring it through the ceiling, through the sky, up, 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 till you reach the central sun, the spiritual sun. Bring the energy from the central sun through your pranic tube, down, down through the sky, coming close to the building, through the roof, through the ceiling, coming through your crown, feel it touching your crown, through your brain, throat, chest, stomach, down your pranic tube to your base chakra, out your base chakra through the floor, underground, down, down, till you reach the Earth's core, where grounding energy takes place. Now, bring up through your pranic tube from the Earth's core, grounding energy, up, up through the Earth's crust, through the basement, if there is one, through the floor. Bring grounding energy into your base chakra. Feel the grounding energy through your lower stomach, chest, throat, brain, out your pranic tube and your crown, through the ceiling, through the top of the building, through the sky, up, up, up to the central sun. With each breath in and out, draw grounding energy from the earth and from the spiritual sun. Feel the sun energy uplifting you and the grounding energy strengthening your feet, your lower body. Each breath grounds you and uplifts you. Feel your whole body being refreshed by the sun and the earth. Gently open a space in your chest and allow energy from the earth and the sun to fill your auric space with each breath. So exhale out your heart space and imagine light is filling your auric space. All the tears and holes and rips are being repaired gently. Gently open a space in your back of your heart and allow the energy to escape from your pranic tube to fill the area in the back of your aura. With each breath, fill your aura more and more. Everybody bring your aura to about 20 feet around you on all sides. If you can't feel it concretely, just imagine it. Keep breathing and sending out the energy out their heart space front and back. Now expand your aura to 40 feet. On all sides. Keep breathing and filling your aura with light from the sun and the earth. For those of you who are brave, bring your aura out to 60 feet. slowly bring your aura to a place that's comfortable for you, where you can feel safe and grounded. And do 3 slow breaths. Slowly close the space in your back so that your pranic tube is sealed. Close the pranic space in the front. Now breathe slowly, drawing in from the earth and the sun a few more times with each breath. Adjust your posture, feel your legs, your shoulders, your breath, your auric space. Now breathe in 3 times slowly and ground yourself and open your eyes when you're ready. So breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. One last time, breathe in. Slowly grounding yourself, and when you're ready, come back. How was that?
Great.
Could you feel the grounding? Okay. So as simple as it is, when you're bored at work, anything, it's the time to do it, right? But preferably when you wake up in the morning, you go to bed in the evening, get your aura nice and full. When you go into uncomfortable places with uncomfortable people, it's not a bad idea, right? And I recommend in the beginning, do as many times a day as you can, and then there's a point where it just does itself. That's a nice support to have. Otherwise.
So we consciously close the back and the front.
Yes.
Did we do the same for the top and front?
No, you want those open. If you could keep those open all day, boy, would you be a shining light. You'll see your friends who can see, they'll say, oh, why did you change your aura? They'll see golden light around you within about a week. So it's like a miracle thing. I mean, it's so simple, and it shows how far away we are from just basic spiritual hygiene. But yeah, you'll see. Your friends will notice. They won't know always if they can't see yours, but otherwise they'll see something. Your eyes start to shine more and stuff like that. It's pretty
Keep
amazing.
what open, your front?
No,
No,
top.
you close the
Oh,
front.
You can keep your top open all the time. So let's say you're in a very intense situation. Someone hits your car from behind. The first thing you do is go, keep your crown chakra open. If you can keep your crown open, usually the others won't close. That's your thing. Let's say you get mad at Joan. Before you go there, right? Say, okay, I keep my crown open, I keep my crown open, and after a while, it will actually stay open, and you never shut down, and you can usually smile your way through things. Right? Especially if you come from a family like mine, it's really good help. Yeah, a lot to yell at. Any other questions?
Thank you for
Yes.
this.
What's that?
Do you see auras?
No, I do, but I don't. Things come and go when you're working. So I did for a number of years, and then I did something else. I guess I would have to train again, but it's not helpful to me. But like courting, I see, like demons, those things, unpleasant past lives. It depends also if I'm working a lot, like on people, those things come. But yeah, when I first did the text work, yeah, I had that spiritual vision, where you could see astral bodies in different combinations that lasted for a while. Yeah, and then it would go away. Depends on how much work you do. Yeah. But it was surprising because when I was a child, I could see a lot. So I could see the demons and angels and all sorts of things. My childhood was a little rough because they'd come and visit you, they'd play games. So I shut down when I was about 7. So coming to anthroposophy, I was really excited because there was a spiritual philosophy about all those things. So, but yeah. And then after I met Florence, learned how to open up again, which was nice. And then what I'm doing now is a little bit different. I'll have to tell you the story sometime over coffee. But I met a healer. I was kind of checking out. I was kind of dying. I met this healer and then started working with her. And that has a lot to do with this work and Steiner and revising, being committed to people through my work with her, learning how to keep a room grounded throughout a presentation, stuff like that. So yeah, I learned a lot from her. So I still work with her in Hawaii. Oh, you're welcome. Any other questions?
The word pranic, where does that come from?
That's prana, I think,
Prana.
Indian, right?
That sounds wonderful.
It was given to my teacher from the angels. They said, do this meditation to keep yourself, maybe 20 years ago, but it had a different name that was very unusual. Angels tend to call things very highfalutin things, like the mighty tube meditation, or I'm exaggerating, but it used to have a different name and she changed it because it was too over the top. Yeah, that's funny, guys. Good.
Thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Did you say that the instructions for this are
in the book.
The book, okay.
Yeah, so what you do is you just tape record it and then you can listen. I gave you the long version I got from my teacher, which is really nice. And you'll see it's very informally done. So I literally typed what she said, so you have to practice a little bit. But I would put it on tape. Since we're on the topic, there's one more meditation that's online for free called the EMF Spiral Sweep. They go hand in hand. But for this work, for grounding and uplifting at the same time, this one is the best. And also puts you in touch. You should be in touch with your aura when you walk into a room. If you're doing spiritual work, you should practice it. You should see how people want to connect with you or not. Always wear, and your backspace too. There's a lady in Germany who does curative eurythmy. If you ever get a chance to go to one of her workshops, she's fantastic. Her name is Sylvia Viant. And she's a seer, and she works hard, boy. Her eurythmy is fantastic. She'll teach you a lot of stuff about your auric space. It's really nice if you ever make it to Germany. I'll write down those things while you guys eat my cake.
Oh, you're not gonna eat it?
Yeah, of course I will.
Okay.
Sorry, what?
Thank you, Mark.
Does everybody know my name? Okay, that's my email too.
Riccio.
But it's okay.
So could you make some workshops about what he's doing right now?
Oh, those?
Yeah.
I could. I didn't know anybody so interested.
I would be
Yeah.
very interesting, and I think many people would be inspired after that. I mean, I find it amazing.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
And I'm more Dominique.
Yeah, it's really important. I'd love to also do that. I could do it. Yeah. Oh, I live in Hawaii.
Here you go. These go on.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Did you take a red one that I borrowed it from here?
Yes.
And that's where you're bringing yours? Okay.
All the round ones.
This belongs here too.
We'll see if we get them all back there.
Okay.
So thanks a lot for having lunch with me.
Hey,
It was
thank
wild.
you. And this whole thing that he just talked about at the end, I just couldn't help but understand the answer.
What did he talk about at the end?
Well, this keeping it open and the tentacles and or opening yourself and then closing yourself.
Oh, yeah. No, you're.
I hope that